Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast. I'm joined today by Brandon White and we've got some wicked topics to get into today. If this is the first time that you've tuned in, this podcast is all about helping you and others get 1% better in recruitment. But if you're joining us back again, welcome back. So we're obviously joined by Marshall again
Come here.
at the house. Hopefully he isn't too much of a distraction, but he seems like the main star of the show. So I've got some topics that we're going to run through. Before we do so, I'm going to do a bit of an intro to Brandon. But before we get to your intro, I think it'd be funny to mention to people how we actually got in touch. So just a bit of context for listeners, viewers. I spoke to a business. They were looking to hire. I'm not a rec to rec. I've never said I'm a rec to rec. Put up a LinkedIn post that went absolutely mental. It was like the highest performing post I've done in a while. Brandon comments. My initial reaction was just like, this guy's gunning for me. I look at it and I'm like, to be fair, he's not really gunning for me. And I thought there might be an opportunity here. This guy seems like he knows his stuff. So we DM'd, we spoke on the phone or we met on a video call actually. And we just got on so well. And I was just like, it's great. So many people messaged me, it's just like, who's this guy gunning for you? I was like, I don't think he was gunning for me.
No,
I just think it's a lot of recruitment. And you know, you'll talk a lot about this. A lot of recruitment owners, they give you a spec, didn't they? And it's just, it just seems somewhat kind of unrealistic, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point I was making was, and I said this to you. It wasn't a dig at you. It wasn't really a dig at anyone. It was just like, can we please be realistic when we're giving like vacancies or requirements over to Rec or anyone? Clients need to. I think your post said something like, the consultants are earning. Some of them are earning over 750 grand a year. They're looking for trainees. And it was kind of like, that's why people get into recruitment for the first time and leave quite quickly because they're not earning 750k a year. That was my point behind that. And it was just, I posted it and I was like, oh, he's going to take that the wrong way. I was like, I'll just leave it up. I'll leave it up. If he doesn't like it, he'll delete it or whatever. And he didn't. And then obviously we started talking and then come on in.
Yeah, mate, 100%. My whole belief around that is that when you read something, you kind of like perceive it your own way. You read it in your own language, right? And I'll be honest, my first initial reaction was just, oh, fuck, like he's going to get so many likes. Everyone's going to think I'm a dickhead. And I was like, there's probably some point. And my whole thing, again, because I'm a coach, right? I feel like you can learn something from everyone. And that's why I thought I'd reach out to you. And then after we actually met on a video call, I was like, yeah, I like this guy.
Yeah.
I think that you've got a wicked story to talk about in the pod. So I will show people what we're going to talk about, and then we'll go to your story for people that don't know about you. Cool. So we're going to talk a little bit about young people getting into recruitment, a passion of yours, talking about how we can get better quality clients, more open-minded clients, you obviously running your own business, how to be consistent, showing up every day, doing the boring stuff, something that I really bloody struggle with, and also the mental health stuff. So before we clicked record, you mentioned a few bits and bobs, and I know you DM'd me after saying that, you know, you want to kind of weave that into the conversation. So those are the things that we'll try and keep on track with. But for people that may or may not know you, Brandon, just tell us a little bit about what you do and your background, mate.
Yeah, cool. So I've been in recruitment for coming on 11 years. I did a year and a half in agency and then thought I was much better than I was at the time because I'd billed okay. Got in touch with the Rec to Rec. He ended up, back and forth conversations, he ended up asking me to actually join him, which was good. That was Paul Kelby, Madison Warner. Joined them. I was their first hire. We grew that business to about 20 people across 2 offices. Did really well. Was there for 5 years. Then January 2020, I left. Joined a local agency to where I live. COVID come in March, so everything kind of was very uncertain. Nobody knew what was going on. Was all sent home. Was all put on furlough. Then shortly after that, found out we were going to have a baby, which was stressful. And then I just thought, look, I know I'm going to be out the door at this place. If things don't improve quickly, I'm going to be gone. So spoke to my boss at the time, explained the situation, decided to leave, set up Volta Search, which was my first Rec to Rec. First 2.5, 3 years went really, really well. Market was booming. It was hard to not make money at that time. I think everyone was having a really good time. Then the following year, I think it was 2023, everything crashed and just fell apart. Like, it was probably the worst year I'd had. Well, it was definitely the worst year I'd had in Rec to Rec to date. That's when I started to really kind of struggle, obviously working for myself and just being on my own. That was when things got really, really difficult. Sort of pushed through into 2024. Things didn't really improve no matter what I was doing. things were still very, very tough. So end of 24, made the decision to close that business down. Took a bit of time out, joined another business for a few months. And then July this year, set up Volta Search, which is where I'm at now.
Nice. How long have you been doing Volta Search for now?
Literally since July.
Since July.
So yeah, 4 or 5 months. Really good start. Made my first placement at the end of July. August, September was a bit quiet. Some holidays usually are. And then since sort of mid-September till now, it's been pretty hectic. There's been a lot going on. Market feels really, really good.
Yeah,
really
decent.
good. I think next year is going to be a good year.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I started my business in 2024, and the first few people said I would probably delay a year, and I was like, well, I've been made redundant. I'm going to do this either way. And yeah, 2024 was decent. This year's definitely been a lot harder. I've spoken to quite a few different like tech founders, recruitment founders, and they a lot of people have said like your second year is like your first year. I don't know about whether you've had this, but my first year, people were like, oh, you're new. We'll give you a go type thing. And then after a year, people are like, oh, you've kind of been doing it for a while now. And that people aren't as willing to just give you a punt type thing. But I've changed my offering a few times, and I have to say this year, it definitely financially hasn't been as good as last year, but in terms of things I've learned, like I've learned so much this year.
Yeah, that's the same with me. Like first 3 years of having Novus was like such a learning curve because I really was thrown in the deep end. I had a couple of friends who helped me out. I was working at their office for a little while. That was brilliant. That like gave me a real solid routine. I felt like I was part of a team. Like although I wasn't involved with them as a business, I was in their office every day. Yeah. That was good. But as far as running a business was concerned and what I had to be doing, like not recruitment. I know what to do with recruitment, but operationally and the dealing with the accountants and dealing with legal stuff and all that, it was just what am I doing? Like where am I going with this? What do I need to do? And I got through a few different accountants because it's not that they weren't good, but they weren't teaching me enough. So I was like, they assumed I knew everything that I had to be doing, and I didn't. So those 4 or 5 years that I had with Novus have set up me now with Volta. I now know all the basic stuff that I needed to be doing initially to have a good time in the next few years, I think.
Yeah, amazing stuff. So one of the first things we said we were going to talk about, before we click record, you said that you don't necessarily do a lot with like the trainee stuff, but that's definitely a passion. Yeah. And you said that the first thing you wanted to talk about was about young people getting into recruitment. Yeah. I guess it's quite a broad topic, and if I'm honest, I'm passionate about that myself because I got into it as an apprentice at 20. It's my first real proper job, and I've only ever been in this industry really. Tell us a little bit about, I guess, why that's such a big passion for you.
Yeah, I like you said, I don't do a lot of training grad. I used to do loads, but I don't do much of it anymore. But I've still got a real kind of soft spot for trainees and grads when they are genuinely hungry to do well. Yeah. Like I don't. First of all, like this whole working from home thing. When it comes to trainees and grads, that idea needs to be scrapped. Like you need to be in the office. You need to learn off everyone. Recruitment isn't a job you could learn from your bedroom. Like otherwise, everyone would be doing it. So I like working with the young people like that are doing it, that want to do it, who are genuine about it and they want to work hard. They maybe don't come from a very kind of wealthy background. They don't have rich mum and dad that they can kind of fall back on. They are trying to make something of their lives, if you know what I mean. So that's why I like working with trainees and grads in a way. I've got some great stories of people I've placed into their first recruitment jobs who have gone on to do amazing things. But a lot of them, unfortunately, don't stick with it because, it's a number of reasons, I guess. But I think, again, the working from home thing comes into it a lot. They don't learn enough quickly and they end up falling behind and feeling like they're not doing well enough because maybe they're not around people all the time. But also, I get a lot of trainees and young people that think they want to do recruitment because maybe they've got an older friend or an older cousin or like I had a guy before who I think his mum did recruitment for a while or something and she'd done really well. He was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do then. But just mentally, he was a different type of person. He wasn't committed. He didn't want to sort of sacrifice his social life for a year or 18 months. Yeah. He wanted the best of both worlds. Yeah. And I can't remember the guy's name now, but I wouldn't say it anyway. But he didn't stay in it for very long. Yeah.
I think that's a tale as old as time in recruitment. I won't name the name of the person, but I had a friend of mine that when I was 21 and I was doing contract recruitment and I had a good book and, whenever we'd be out like together, like around a mate's house or at the pub or whatever, it'd be like 10, 11 p.m. and I'd get a phone call and I'd have to book in a nurse to do like the 7 a.m. shift the next night.
Yeah.
People are looking at me like, oh, you're working all the time. I was like, yeah, but I'm fucking making a lot of money and I'm enjoying it. One of my friends was just like, I think he was doing like an internship or something for finance. And when I told him, like I don't want to brag, but I'm 21, this is how much money I'm earning. Everyone else is paying off their uni fees.
Yeah.
I'm fucking rolling around in cash right now. Like I'm saving a lot of money.
Yeah.
I could get you a job. And I was trying to get all my mates into recruitment because it worked for me. So I just thought, if I'm earning this money, you guys can as well. Not realising I was naive that this ain't for everyone.
Yeah.
And bless him, like he joined us. He went on the perm division and he just wasn't doing deals and he just couldn't pay his bills. So he was delivering pizza in the evenings.
Yeah.
So he would leave work at 5. And everyone, like, it was a toxic environment. Everyone would be like, oh, who's going to leave early today?
Yeah,
like,
classic.
if you left at like 5 because you had, you know, a date or a meal with your mum,
Yeah.
they'd give you shit for it. It's like the old school recruitment days. And I remember sitting him down one day and I'm like, mate, the reason why you're not earning money is because you are still new to this. Your first year, you need to put a serious amount of hours in.
That's
you need
what
to
they
stay
don't get.
late. And he was like, but I'm not earning money. I'm like, you're thinking like binary. If you stay late and you speak to a candidate that's just got onto the job board and no other recruiters worked with and you do a deal, that commission will be paid in a few months' time.
Yeah.
But I need money now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're not going to earn any money in this industry.
Yeah.
And he wasted a whole year. I think he was in recruitment a year at that firm. 6 months later, barely earned a scrap of commission.
That's the thing, and that's what a lot of young people don't understand is they, again, coming back to your post, like if a young person joined that company and there genuinely were consultants there earning nearly £1 million a year, right, 750 grand a year, which, by the way, I think I'll put it in there, takes like £3.5 million worth of billings a year, which is crazy. But there are people doing it. Good for them, sort of thing. Like, yeah, great. But if a young person was to join that business and say they're sat next to the guy that's earning 750 grand a year, whatever that equates to, 60 grand a month or something, they're seeing that person do that well. If they don't feel like they're achieving that within 3 months, they're going to leave because they're going to be, unless they're super committed and they're in it for the long term, they're going to be like, I'm never going to get to that point. It's not happening quick enough, so I'm going to go. It's the ones that will sacrifice their first year, their first 2 years. They'll work every hour. Like, nobody likes to hear that, but with recruitment, it's sales and you're dealing with people. Yeah, it's very long hours because it has to be. Like, you're not going to earn that money within a 9 to 5. Like, you have to be starting early, finishing late. You don't have to do it every single day, but there are going to be times where you have to give up certain times a day, certain social events, certain drinks. Like, it just is what it is. Like, if you want things for the longer term. There's a guy, I won't say his name, but he'll know who he is, who I placed 2 years ago, two and a half years ago. He was a policeman. He come out of the police. He was in the police for 4 or 5 years. I can't remember how I got in touch with him or if he got in touch with me, but from our first call, he's like, right, I want to do recruitment. I want to earn more money than I am now. I know I'll do that in sales, and I've been looking into it, and recruitment's the sort of the way to go. Long story short, he ended up taking a 10 grand cut on his salary, on his base salary, to get into recruitment, and he was super hesitant about it at the time. He's like, that's a lot of money to lose a year. I don't know if I can do that. Like, I've got bills to pay, I've got a mortgage, I've got missus. He was super hesitant, and I was just like, look, mate, if you commit to it and you do it, you will earn way more money than you are at the moment, but it's going to take a bit of a step back to move forward. Yeah. 2 years later, he's billed £1 million in his first 2 years. I just saw on LinkedIn either this week or last week, he's already been made a director of the business that I placed him at. It's only a small firm, but he hit like his first 3 promotions in his first less than a year. Was leading a team within a year and a half, and he's now been made a director. He's got shares in the business. And I remember within his first year, I caught up with him, and I was speaking to him regularly, but I caught up with him at some point during his first year, and he told me that he'd earned his previous annual salary in a month. Wow. And he was buzzing. He couldn't be happier. But the sacrifice from his side, he works the US market from the UK, so he's working all hours of the day. He's given up a lot of his personal life and social life to commit to it, but he's one of the most driven people I've met and heard stories about in the office.
Yeah. Well, that type of story, mate, that's the kind of things that especially the younger generation don't really hear. They just see the people on lunch club drinking Moët, in Dubai, wearing fucking Gucci, this, that and the other. What they don't see is the people that have told their mates on Friday that I'm staying late in the office, or on the weekends they're fucking emailing candidates in their morning and they're doing all this.
You said put
I
on
literally
silent,
said
mate.
put it on silent, and there's me. I'm supposed to be the bloody expert in this. Well done, Charles. You absolute idiot. But yeah, people don't see that side of it, right? They just see the glitz, the glam, and the glory, but they don't see what goes on behind the sidelines, right? It's the same thing. Like, I'm massive into my combat sports. People see these athletes like, you know, your Islam Makhachevs and your Leon Edwards, like dripped out, fucking Rolex, and all the rest of it. But if you go and follow that guy around or the girl around and see what they do day to day, are they going parties? Are they going out drinking?
Yeah, exactly.
No, they're training 3 times a day.
Yeah.
They're blood, sweat, tears all the fucking time, and then they get to have the glory.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had a similar experience in your recruitment career, but, you know, yes, I partied a lot throughout my 20s and stuff, like when I was doing well, like, of course, but did I sacrifice things? Fuck yeah. Like, I absolutely sacrificed things, and I made sure that even if I did earn commission checks, I saved a lot of my money because I wanted to buy a house. I wanted to buy a car outright, and I wanted to have nice things. So I had to sacrifice those things. So to your point about young people getting into recruitment and they're on TikTok and they see like these high performing people, you got to realize, especially your first year in this industry, you have to make sacrifices to be successful, and you've got to work ridiculous hours. That's what I think that's what puts most people off, is the hours.
It is, because also and again, what you were saying there about what people don't see, I think especially with LinkedIn and any sort of social media, you only see like 30% of anything is going to be good. I think around about 25-30%. No one's having a good time all the time, but people only post about the good stuff they're doing. Like, no one sees the rejections, the letdowns, the no-shows to interviews, like the frustrations and the bad stuff that comes with any, not just recruitment, but any career or any hobby, anything you do. No one sees the bad stuff. So when they see someone doing really well, they probably assume that person's always doing really well. So when they're having a bad time or bad month, they think it's on them, which for younger people that haven't been through years and years of recruitment, all the ups and downs, that, like, we all know what it's like. I mean, I'm not going to talk about it, but last month for me was the most frustrating month I've ever had. It could have been my best month in 11 years, and it was by far one of the worst. So it just happens. Like, you have to be able to deal with it and move on. But these young people, they don't see all the work that goes into it, all the slog, all the letdowns, and, like I said, rejections, and all the hard times. They just expect all the good stuff. So I think there's a lot of good young people out there that are going to get into recruitment and do very, very well. I placed a girl who started on Monday this week, and I think she's going to be fantastic. She's only 19, but she's got the right attitude. She's resilient. She's actually been trying to get into recruitment since I first spoke to her in May. It's been a hard year for trainees interviewing anyway, I think. But where she's young, she sort of left school. She's the right type of person. Like, she's quite salesy. She's very confident. She'll kind of get on with anyone. She will do very well because she wants to do well. And for anyone that's been interviewing constantly since May and has just found a job now, that shows really strong resilience. That's crazy. Normally you'd give it a month or two. If you're not getting anything, you move on.
Big time.
She'll do very well. But there's a lot of people out there who do, like I said, they want to work from home. They don't want to be in the office. They want to be. I spoke to a guy recently who he had, I don't know, maybe 6 months experience in recruitment, and he was looking for like 35 grand basic. I was like, you're mad. Like, you're mental. And he wanted to work from home 2 days a week. Like, what you do? Like,
how old was this person?
He just finished uni. She's what, 21, 22?
Mate, can I just say something?
It's insane.
Like, when I was the head of L&D, I think we had for recruiters 1 day a week work from home. Because you remember back a few years back, just after the pandemic, if you were a recruitment firm that had no work from home policy, you just weren't going to attract talent, right? Like, everyone had to offer it. Then we looked at the statistics as we had data, and the data for the days that people were off were absolutely pony, right? No shock. I'm not being funny. When I worked from home the first time during COVID, I still lived at home with my mum. I was working from my bedroom on my bed, where I used to play PlayStation and smoke weed all night, right? Not exactly the best fucking place to be working, right? So no wonder I was terrible working from home. So when I had a few people come to me and say, you know, we want to have more flexibility and stuff, I used to question myself, like, am I being like my old managers and being like toxic, you know, cowboy recruitment-y, or am I coming at this from like a logical standpoint? I remember sitting down with one of the girls and sat there and like, why do you want to work from home? She was like, because I want more flexibility, you know, I want to be able to go out with my friends and see my family. And I was like, okay, do you really think this industry is for you? Do you think this job is for you? Yeah, I want to earn money. I was like, right, you can go and earn a 40, 50k basic for a job that can, be fully remote or hybrid or
bus driver. Train driver.
Yeah. You could go and do something like that,
Yeah.
and there's no stress or anything like that. But if you're going to complain that your manager has said build a project on Friday and click send on Saturday, if you're going to complain about that, the job's ain't for you, in my opinion. The job just ain't for you, because your competitors who really, really fucking want it, again, go back to the athletes, the ones that are training, like Mike Tyson always used to say, he'd go out running when his opponents were sleeping and shit.
Yeah.
Your competitors will be doing that. That's how I got taught, is if you don't speak to that person, your competitor will. That kind of like urgency mindset.
Yeah, there is that.
I just think a lot of people, they get into this industry, as to your point, because they're blinded by how much money they can earn. And the top biller's wearing a fucking Savile Row suit, or, they've got a Rolex on, they're driving an AMG. I want that. But they don't actually see that, by the time they've gone home to go to a bar, like with their friends and have dinner with their mum or whatever, the top biller's still in the office grinding away, not seeing their friends and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
I won't say the company name, but I think they'll probably know who it is. There's a very, very good business in London. They've also got an office in the US. They were a client of mine for a number of years. Their top biller was the owner of the business, and the business was probably about 110 people in size. And there was always a bit of, I wouldn't call it a joke, but there was always a bit of like a running theme that they like to party, they like to have a drink. Like Thursday, Friday nights, they were out, some Wednesdays, some Tuesdays, I guess. But if ever they went out during the week, the guy that owned the business would be out with them, and he'd be the last one to go home. As soon as everyone turned up to work in the morning, he was already on the phones. He was already in the office, like fresh as anything. Wow. Whether he'd slept or not, who knows? But he'd be the first one in the office. He was on the phone, and he was still their top biller. And he was about 5-10 years older than everyone else in the company. But yeah, you look at someone like that, and you're like, that is the right mentality. That's mental, but it's the right way to do it. If you want to do recruitment, you have to be all in. You can't be, I'll do it when I fancy it, or I'll do a bit here, I'll work from home tomorrow, I won't work 100%. As much next week.
Have you seen much of a difference, because you speak to a lot more recruiters and obviously businesses and whatnot, but have you seen much of a difference in the perception around working from home and stuff? Because the reason why I say that, a lot of businesses I've started working with this year have all been fully in office. And when I've said that to them, like, a couple of years back, if you said we were fully in office, like, you just wouldn't attract talent. And they said, what we've realised is that we need to stop faking what our culture is. Because we've got a lot of trainees, and we've got people that are maybe 1 or 2 years experience that are by no means the finished product. If they're in the office, they do a lot more and they learn from other people. So now we're just in the office 5 days a week. And a lot of companies now, they'll do like a half day on Friday, because they're in every other day, or every single day, sorry. But what have you noticed in terms of recruitment businesses and stuff, or even candidate expectations around that hybrid working model?
I feel when I'm speaking to, on the candidate side, when I'm speaking to recruiters, experienced recruiters who, like pre-COVID recruiters, they're the ones that they are happy being in the office. They want to be in, but maybe they want one day, because normally them ones are a bit older now, right? I'm 35. I've been doing this for 11 years. There's a lot of recruiters that, if they've got at least 5 years experience, you're close to 30. They're the ones that, they'll go in, but they'll appreciate a day a week at home. Whether they've got kids or they're on the school runs or whatever it might be, 1 day a week flexibility is perfect for them. That's more than enough. It's always on the younger side that they want more days at home, which I think that's not through any fault of their own. That's kind of, they've left uni in the last few years. That's all they've really known from like a working style. On the client side of things, a few years ago, most companies were very, very hybrid, like 1-2 days a week in the office, if that. Some clients over the years were fully remote. I've heard of some companies even now that have 1 day a quarter in the office, some recruitment companies. A lot of companies I'm seeing are moving more towards 5 days a week. There's only 2 or 3 that I know of in London that I've spoken to recently who are in the office every day and always have been. They've still kept a very good culture from what I understand and can see and hear about, which I think is great. If companies have managed to keep that 5 days a week and they've been tight on it and like, no, this is what we're doing, we're not budging, it gets rid of I'm not going to say the shit, but it gets rid of like people that aren't fully committed. 100%. It keeps people that are 100% committed, and it really enforces that culture, which I think is great. But for a lot of companies I'm seeing, like you said, I think a good setup right now, which I'm seeing a lot of, is they have 1 day a week working from home. typically on like a Tuesday or Wednesday. I feel like never have a work from home day on a Friday because everyone's going to be hungover.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of good setups I'm seeing are like 1 day a week from home and early finish on a Friday.
Yeah.
I feel like that's enough, or that should be enough to get people interested.
Yeah.
It's a good balance because, like we've said, in recruitment you have to be in. Like,
yeah, I think so.
I work for myself for the last 5 years, and it's the one part I've really not enjoyed.
Yeah.
Is being by myself, working at home, or working from working spaces, or whatever it might be. I get so bored.
Yeah,
I have to have someone to talk to.
Mate, I'm totally the same. Like, I'm on ADHD medication because my brain just struggles to produce dopamine by itself, right? So doing like the boring administration type tasks pre-medication, just non-existent if I'm honest. Now I can do that type of stuff, but I would say I'm very good on the phone. Like, my ego, if I'm in a room of salespeople, I always want to be on the phone first because it's kind of it sounds really silly out loud, but if I'm on the phone, I know I can encourage other people to get on the phone, and I can see other people go, "Oh, that's a fucking great question. What a rascal thing that he's just said there." And it just, I like that feeling of people looking at me on the phone, right? When I'm in my office upstairs and I can hear the fucking dog scratching at the door, the baby crying, my missus trying to sing lullabies to the baby or whatever, and I'm trying to hype myself up for a call sprint, and then you call 10 people in the space of 10 minutes, no one answers, and you're like, this is fucking horrible.
Yeah,
this is actually horrible.
I'm the same.
Like, I really, like, there's days where I just sit there, like, I've just set up a new business with 2 other trainers. And the good part about that is every single Friday morning we sit on a Teams call or whatever, and we talk about our week's been. We've set up a joint spreadsheet to talk for activity, and we've got something to keep us accountable because we've got to get letters of intent from businesses now. So it's like, I have to do this because if I don't update my numbers on that spreadsheet, I look like a fucking melt to these guys, right? So there's a little bit of accountability, but I just think that if I was a 25-year-old recruiter joining a firm and maybe I have onboarding, because let's be real, not a lot of businesses have any sort of training onboarding, and then they go, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays, whatever, you can work from home, or whatever days it is. If I had that when I was a recruiter, I think I'd be shit. If I'm honest, I think I'd be shit.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I get the same. Like, there are days where I'm at home. My missus, she works from home as well. She does her own thing. So normally it's 2 of us, like boys at school, we'll just be working. If I'm there on my own and I know I've got a call booked in for, say, 10 o'clock, 5 to 10, I'm like, I can't be bothered to make this call. Like, I don't want to be on the phone. If I'm around other people, no problem. But when I'm by myself, I'm like, do I really have to? Can this not just be an email? Do I have to pick up the phone?
It's terrible.
As soon as I'm on the call, I'm fine.
Exactly.
I'll just be chatting for ages.
Exactly.
But leading up to it, I've just got very lack of motivation to pick the phone up when I'm on my own. If I'm in around other people, it's fine. I don't even think about it. It's weird. It's strange. If other people on the phone around me, I almost feel like I don't want to not be on the phone.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't want to not be talking to someone.
By the way, that is my, probably out of the many pet peeves I have in recruitment, as a trainer and as a coach, when I go into a recruitment firm, my number one pet peeve is walking into an office and you can hear a pin drop.
Yeah,
or all you can hear is the clacking of keyboards. It is just, what are we doing? Are we in a marketing agency? Like, what the fuck are we doing?
It shouldn't be like that. The best client meetings I have is when I walk into a recruitment office and it's buzzing. Like, everyone's on the phone, like music playing, the people are walk around when you're on the phone. Like, if you're making a call, stand up. Don't sit at your desk because it's
100%.
Your voice sounds shit. Like, you sound like you don't want to be there. You're tired. Stand up and walk around. And also then those offices I've walked in where people are walking around, the headsets on and everything. It's such a good atmosphere. Like, I love it.
My rule that I always tell. So my most recent academy, and there was an anecdote as well about the about something I'll tell in a second. I saw one of them like hunched over their desk writing notes on their. I know, it's the star, aren't you? Yeah. There was one guy who was hunched over his desk writing in his notebook whilst he was on the phone to a candidate. And he got off the phone, and I went over to him. I was like, right, I'm going to tell you a rule that I live by, and I tell every recruiter I ever work with. Whenever you're on the phone and you ask a question or you sell, stand. If you're listening and typing, sit. And he was like, oh, okay, but I'm not very quick at typing. I was like, right, so he owes notes in the notebook. That is a waste of fucking time. You're 20 odd years old, right? Yeah. You're young. You can build a new habit. Throw that away. Type your notes. I built him a little template to put in the CRM that, like, what your most important things are, salary expectations and stuff. You have a standing desk, right? So put your standing desk up, yeah? When you do your intro, shoulders back, chin up, smile, project your voice. You'll just sound more assertive, more confident, more just everything. You just sound much better. But if you don't want to, if you just want to stand up and walk about and talk, but then sit down and make your notes when you listen, that's a really, really good rule. And I said that to all of them in the next training session. I was like, I don't want to see anyone make the notes in their notebook, because you'll waste hours a day on admin.
Yeah.
Teach yourself how to type quick, right? And if you're a little bit slow, just tell a candidate or a client on the phone, bear with, I'm just trying to get used to typing, I'm a little bit slow, they'll understand, right?
Yeah.
What happens? Literally, hi, it's so-and-so calling from so-and-so, how are you? Like, the
It's
tonality
so
is so much better.
Yeah.
And then admin-wise, they'd already done it on the call. It's an absolute game changer. But there was one thing I was going to tell you that it popped up earlier. I spoke to them about, I think we did a training session on how to build a 500k desk, like what are the principles, what the mindset, the habits are, and processes and basics and things, which we'll talk about with the client side in a second. And one of the guys said to me, which was like, yeah, but like, you've also got to live life, haven't you? And I was like, yeah, I know. And it was like, but like, what you're trying to say is a lot of these top billers, like, they sacrifice so much. I was like, yeah, but when you're in your 20s, right, you sacrifice because you want to build for the future, right? If you wanted to get really jacked or really lean, you can't just sit on the couch and fucking eat pizza every night because you want to live life.
Yeah.
If that's your goal. And I was like, look, mate, if you don't want to earn life-changing sums of money, if you just want to be me, and there's nothing wrong with this, if you just want to be average, you just want to comfortably hit target, be somewhat profitable and stuff, that's fine. But if you're saying that you want to buy a house and you want to support your family, and you've told me you've got huge fucking aspirations and goals, you can't live life like what you're trying to explain and do that. You can't do that. No. You have, unless you are the most talented fucking ultra efficient person in the world that can do that within those hours. But that comes with time. Like, once you've been doing the job 7-8 years, then maybe you can do your 9 till 5 and then crack on and be with family and go and play football or go boxing or whatever. But I think that's, it's an interesting one, that.
Yeah, it is. There's definitely a lot of sacrifice involved in recruitment. Early on anyway, like you said, once you've been doing it a while, you get into good routines, you've got a bit of a reputation, if you like. You've got some good clients, repeat business, you've got candidates referring people to you. The job becomes easier. But those first few years, like, they've got to understand what they're getting themselves in for. I like it. Some clients I've got, their whole interview style with trainees is to try and put them off the job, which I do myself when I qualify them, but they take it a bit further. And that really kind of weeds out who wants to do it and who doesn't. 100%. And it can be frustrating at times, obviously, when you want to make a couple of placements, but I completely understand the benefit in doing that. Like, they have to know it's not all sunshine and rainbows. 100%. You're not going to be making, and also, like, again, like coming back to your post, kind of, in a way, like those companies that tell trainees they're going to earn 100 grand their first year, they're going to earn 80 grand their first year. You're not. You're going to earn 45, 50 at most. Like, I don't care what anyone says. You've not been doing it for long enough or built up big enough of a network to earn any more than that. Like, to earn 100 grand your first year, you're billing 250, 300k. Some people do it, but it's very, very rare.
It's very rare.
It's very rare.
I'm sure it was the same when you first got into recruitment 10, 11 years ago. Same with me. Every single business, you can earn 100 grand your first year, you can earn 100 grand. And as a trainee, you don't question that at all.
No.
You just go, oh, amazing. You don't even ask what the fucking comm structure is. You just go, 100 grand, great. Then they go, oh, sit down with our top biller. I'm earning 300 grand a year. You're like, oh, I could do that as well. And, like, you don't realise kind of what goes into it and stuff. So, Well, another thing you wanted to talk about, which kind of goes into what our conversation was there about getting good quality clients, getting open-minded clients. You, from our first conversation and from this conversation, you seem like the type of person that, correct me if I'm wrong here, but somewhat picky with who you work with. Because I'm the same, maybe to my detriment sometimes, where I'm like, nah, they're a shit house and I don't want to work with them, where I'm like, well, I could probably do with the extra money. But I try and stick within my values, and I want to work with businesses that I align with, because I've talked about this on the podcast, but I've worked for some shit house businesses, and I've worked for some people that really make me wonder how I'm still in this industry, to be honest. And I'm like, if everyone's like that, I don't want to work in this industry. But luckily now I've seen such, and through this podcast as well, I've met so many cool, open-minded people that really have made me think, actually, no, this industry is fucking awesome. Like, if you look deep into it, there's a lot of great people in this industry. But for people listening to this that are at whatever level, whether they're trainee, director level, and everything in between, tell us a little bit about how people can go around getting better, good quality clients, more open-minded clients. Like, what does that look like?
I think for me, when it comes to clients and candidates, but when it comes to clients, it's just about building that relationship. Like, I was thinking about this on the way over. I've got clients I've worked with for the past 6 years, one or two that I've never placed with, that I picked up, built a really good relationship with, get on really well with, speak to very often, but it's come away from like I'm using them as a place to put candidates in, and it's now I've got a couple of clients, again, they probably know who you are, who I will call up for advice. I'll call up for what, like, I've got this situation, how would you deal with it? Like, what should I be doing? Or do you know anyone? I've got, so there's one particular client that I know haven't been hiring for a number of years. They've kept things very, very small. But one of the owners is become a good friend of mine, and he's somebody that I'll go to for, can you recommend a business for this particular candidate? This is what they do. This is who they are. I haven't got many options for them. Can you recommend anyone? So relationships are really key. But also when it comes to the actual client themselves, I've always, I don't know, it's a funny one. Like I've always said, I wouldn't work with clients that I wouldn't work at myself, because it's hard to sell into a business that you don't believe in.
For sure.
But it's been harder over the last few years to actually get in and meet clients all the time. When I was, before COVID, when I was in the city every day, I'd meet every single client and candidate I worked with. Since COVID, that has kind of fallen away, I feel like, for most people. It's been quite difficult. I'll still meet them as much as I can, and when I'm in London, I'll let people know if I'm nearby an office or something, I'll swing in. But in terms of getting good quality candidates, it's just clients. It's just about having that good initial conversation. Like if the client, if the director or whoever that I speak to is a bit of a dick, I won't work with them, because I'm like, how are you going to interview my candidates? What are you going to be like when it comes to offers and negotiations and stuff? Are you going to, I don't know, are they going to even get through rebate working for you? So immediately they're a no. If the company themselves are, like we mentioned, they're open to people moving markets, to different ideas of different ways of working. Like if someone's been purely delivery for a number of years, but now they really want to go into a 360 role, are you going to give that kind of person a chance? If they're open to stuff like that, brilliant client, like fantastic. That's who you want to work with. I recently placed a girl this week, actually. The offer come through on Monday at a business. She had been in recruitment for 8-9 months, never done a deal, never made any money, never billed. But she'd done a lot on BD. So she'd brought in a number of clients who had gone on to pass roles out around the business. She'd brought in revenue for the company, but not through her own doing.
Right, okay.
She was interviewing, I think she was up against 2 or 3 other candidates, all at junior kind of level, who had billed. But this client offered her because they liked her as a person, they liked her energy, her attitude, her work ethic, everything. So they took her on. So that's the kind of client I want to work with. Someone who doesn't just look at figures. Like, has this person billed 300 grand a year? No. All right, we're not interested. I mentioned to you when we spoke the other week, I had a guy, had a guy on who is a big contract biller, 600-700 grand a year, wanted to move markets. I had him on for about 2 months, and nobody really would look at him. He had a few interviews, but he was asking for a lot on a basic, which we spoke about and we've kind of dealt with, and we're putting it off till January. But it was really hard to get him interviews because clients just didn't want to give someone the chance that had done 10 years in one market, switch over to a new one. But the clients that did want to give them a chance, again, good clients, like really good people to have. So yeah, it's just about having those conversations, building those relationships, asking the tricky questions, putting them in situations, and just seeing what the gut feeling is with them, I think.
So with the building relationships thing, because I looked through my episodes on Spotify a few weeks back, and there's so many episodes that talk a lot about, in a world that's going to be dominated by AI, relationships are still going to be pivotal. Obviously, my new business that I'm setting up is an AI training platform. So it's not an AI sales agent. It's not automation or anything. It's supposed to help consultants upskill their tonality, their questions and stuff. I always get a bit frustrated when I speak to businesses that say, oh, we have no budget for training, but we've invested loads in AI. And I'm like, right, that's great. But like, how is that actually helping your consultants be good recruitment consultants? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So when I work with recruitment consultants and I wax lyrical about build the relationship. And I think some people are I don't want to say naturally, but I guess I'm just going to use that term for now. Some people are naturally quite good at building that rapport and being like, what football team do you support? Or, you know, how's business going? And having those good human conversations and commercial conversations. But I also see a lot of a variety from like rookie to senior principal level where they're very transactional. And even though like billings wise they're doing all right and stuff, but I think where, you know, I see a lot of sales agent, AI agents come in and they're like pitching on the phone and stuff. And I'm like, it's a bit, I don't know, I've got my own opinions on that. But I think that if you are really upskilling in asking great questions, building rapport, doing your best to meet people, even whether it is just a video call. Like our first call was on a video call. It's better than a phone call, right? It's obviously better to do this in person, of course, but those types of things. So what I'd like to know from you, and I think it would be valuable for people watching, listening this, is what types of things do you do in that initial call to help build that relationships? Like types of questions, do you have any tips around like building rapport with people? Like tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, every call's different, right? Like sometimes I'll call a candidate, whatever level, and they want to get straight into business. They don't want to have that chat, which is fine. You can figure that out. The ones that are a lot more open to it, it's just about kind of making them feel a lot more relaxed, I think. Especially, again, coming back to younger people. I don't want to dwell on younger people, but coming back to younger people as an example, they get very nervous very quickly. So one of the first things I say to young people, trainees and grads is, this isn't an interview. Like, I'm not calling you to interview you.
Yeah.
I want to have a chat. Okay, cool. Then relax a little bit. Right, how's your weekend? How's your week going? Whatever it might be. Get into a conversation for 5-10 minutes about anything but recruitment.
Yeah.
And when it is then time to talk about why I'm calling, I was like, right, tell me a bit more about your situation and shut up. And then see how they react. So see how they start talking, if they open up, if they get chatty, if they go a bit quiet and timid. They're all very early signs of whether or not they're going to be able to do recruitment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just having that human conversation. Like, did you see a post on LinkedIn this week or last week? Some guy put something up about how he'd created some AI recruitment bot.
Yeah.
And it was going to replace recruiters were charging too much money. And I don't know if it was clickbait or what, but it went the opposite way to what he was expecting, I think.
The comments made me die.
The amount of recruiters.
And I looked at his profile, like, you've not worked in recruitment
Yeah, exactly,
before.
that's the thing.
And like, what are you on about, mate?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Made me laugh.
Ridiculous.
So you've got to have that human element. Like, that's not going anywhere. Like, I love AI. I use AI for a lot of stuff. I think it's great, but to a point. Like, you need to be able to just have general conversations. And when I speak to, again, I don't want to keep going on about young people getting into recruitment, make sure I try to not coach them too much or prep them too much on their interview because I don't want it to come across fake.
Yeah.
But just try to get them to understand, like, look, this recruitment interview is probably going to be unlike any other industry you could interview in. It's going to be very conversational. You have to talk about money. You have to talk about why you want to earn money, what you want to do. Don't shy away from what you want to earn financially. But also speak to the interviewer like you're speaking to your mates. Yeah. Not too much, but treat them as if you've known them a little while and you're sat in a pub having a chat. Because it has to be very conversational. Yeah. It just 100%. Doesn't work otherwise.
I did a remote. It was I think one of my first ever like remote training sessions with a client. Not yesterday, day before. 3 hours. I think 10 consultants stood up the entire time as well. I thought because. Again, when I train, I'm stood up, right? And occasionally I'll sit down and go for a discussion. I thought, I initially sat down, I was like, am I going to be able to be as confident sat down? Yeah. Nah, stand up. Fucking back was so sore by the end of the 3 hours, but it is what it is. But we talked a lot about like rapport building, and there was a variety of different levels. And have you heard of like the 4 personality colours? Like the red, blue, yellow and green? Yeah. So a couple of people knew about it. Someone had read the book Surrounded by Idiots, and I put up one slide was 5 questions, a question, answer A, B, C or D. And then they basically had to collate how many A's, B's and D's and C's they had. And then if they had more A's, they were red, more B's, they were yellow, etc. And I was like, you're probably wondering, what the fuck is Charles on about here? Like, what are these colours about? And I put up the circle, and it said red is more like bold, action orientated, blue is more analytical, detail orientated, yellow is more like social, dynamic, and green is more like considerate, supportive. And I was like, a lot of like C-level clients, directors, founders, etc. are more typically red, right? Your sales trainer, recruitment consultant, whatever, quite yellow, operations, HR, healthcare, green, and like engineering, marketing, etc., more blue. Yeah. So I said the reason why I've talked about this is that when you're building rapport with someone, if you called me as a candidate and how was your weekend, Charles? Oh yeah, it was good. Yeah, watched the UFC, took my dog for a really nice walk. Mirror it. And be like, oh yeah, what dog have you got? If you call someone up, like a client, and you go, thanks for taking the time to speak to me today, mate. How was your weekend? Yeah, it's good, thank you. a lot of, especially trainees, a lot of trainees look at that and go, oh, this person's rude. Oh, this person's really difficult to work with.
Yeah.
It's just about like figuring out, is this person just fucking get to the point? And if that is the case, get to the point. And also another thing as well that I found, that if someone has no similar interests to you, right?
Yeah.
But you work in the same fucking field.
Yeah. Talk about it.
Just talk about it. Like I remember I was working with an like software engineering recruitment firm, and one of the trainees was like, don't know much about the market and not really that interested in what they do. I have no similar interests. Like I'm a rugby guy. Like all these guys are like basement dwellers. Like how do I spark a conversation? Yeah. And I was like, pull up this client's profile. They've got a GitHub. Look at their GitHub. Right, they've created this little AI agent. Ask him about it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, but I don't know anything about it. Great.
Just get him talking.
So literally, he started the call and said, oh, I did a little bit of research before the call, saw your GitHub and saw you created this AI agent. Looked quite interesting. Tell me a little bit about that. 5 minutes straight, client was like, like that. And it was like just mirroring back little words like, really? So how did that work? Oh, it's like, oh, and how many people worked in this? Oh, that's really interesting. It's like, yeah, so that's that, mate. So yeah, so tell me, what do you guys do? And all of a sudden, like the rapport was there.
Yeah.
So it's just like, for me, it's common sense to me because I've been doing it for a while, but it's just being like a sales chameleon, isn't it? It's just like figuring out what type of communication style they are. If you don't have similar interests, just ask them fucking questions.
Yeah. I think it is, depending on what market you work, I think it is difficult sometimes. Like I spent a few months working for a tech recruitment company. So this was in between Rec to Rec and another Rec to Rec. But I spent a couple of months at a tech recruitment business, and for me, how can I word it? I'm very into normal things. So working, like speaking to these coders and everything, they're fascinating people, but they are very difficult to get conversation out of. I think unless you're, and I found that quite quickly, going from calling recruiters and salespeople all day who just want to have a chat and they're my kind of people, to then having to call real techies who have no real social skills because they're heads in a laptop coding all the time, which is great for them, but it's not my cup of tea. So having a conversation with them was very hard because they don't really want to communicate much. They just want to know the details why you call in, and that's it. So I think it is slightly different, but in general, just find out what that person's interested in and just ask them about it. Yeah. And I feel like it works the other way as well. With some clients I have that interview, I was speaking to a client recently, and one of their final stages is a presentation. I was like, okay, cool. What's the presentation on? They're like, anything. Like, anything? Like, yeah, anything. Like, what do you mean anything? So like, whatever that person's passionate about, I want to do a 2-minute presentation about that topic. I was like, that is a weird way to do it, but I like it. Cool. Yeah. So for them, it was like, let's see how this person talks about something they're passionate about. Yeah. And it went really well. Like I had some people did really well. Some people turned out to not be that interesting and didn't have many hobbies. So they obviously didn't get, they couldn't articulate as well what they were trying to talk about, so they didn't get it. But I feel stuff like that is a good way of figuring out, can you just have conversations?
Especially for like the types of jobs that like in our market. For like the techie ones, I know that they do like tech tests and stuff like that. Yeah. I've got 2 funny anecdotes actually on the presentation point. Back in either 2016, 2017, I think it was 2016, I placed this lady called Victoria Baldwin, and she's written a testimonial recommendation on my LinkedIn that says, ask Charles about the unicorn story. Right. And it was like one of the most well talked about stories in my old firm, Projectors. Basically, it was one of the first ever candidates that had to do a presentation on their passion for a giant surgical medical device company that was massively corporate, right? And she sent me the presentation overnight, and I showed it to the senior consultants because I'd never prepped a candidate to do a presentation before. And they looked at it and was like, right, first things first, what do you think's wrong about this? So I was like, I don't know, that's why I'm asking you. And they're like, it's all in pink. There's butterflies all over it. And I was like, right, but that's unique to her. And I was like, then she needs to change it to green and white so it's in company colours, have their logo up on top right. I was like, right, okay, I don't know how she's going to take that. And I was like, right, secondly, her passion is small acts of kindness. She's going to go and work for a big corporate. Do you really think that's going to land well? Yeah. So I was like, I don't know, but it's unique to her, and I think it's quite authentic. And they were like, you need to change it. Yeah. So we've got some stories of people that are into carpentry or cycling or whatever, and they can bring props of them and stuff. And I was like, I don't know, I just don't think she's going to take that well. So I've called her, and obviously I'm quite a rookie at this point, so I've called her and said, right, we need to change the colours and da-da-da. She's just freaked out, and she was just like, I don't want to do anything that's not authentically my own, and that's my number one passion is small acts of kindness. Also, pink is my favourite colour. I don't want to just change it to corporate colours and be like everyone else. Everyone else is going to do the same thing. I was like, that's a good point. All right, well, look, just go away and work on it, and we'll speak tomorrow. She gives me a call that night, or send me a text at like 5 o'clock, and I'm wrapping up for the day. And she basically says, I can't do this. So I call her and I'm like, what do you mean you can't do this? She was like, I don't think I've got enough experience. Like, I'm really second guessing my presentation. No word of a lie. I spent 2 hours on the phone to her. She cried. I was like fucking trying to hype her up. I was coaching her through it. And I found this article online that said, be your fucking unicorn. So I just said to her, I was like, wait, I know some people think affirmations are a bit silly, but I want you to stand up wherever you are right now and scream down the phone that you're a unicorn. So initially she was like, I'm a unicorn. And I was like, I don't fucking believe you. I was like, look louder. Through the article. You got to do it louder. And she was like, I'm a fucking unicorn. Say it fucking louder, Victoria, man. You're going to get this job. They're going to love you. And she was like, all right, I'm a fucking unicorn. I'm going to get this fucking job. And I was just like, yes, you fucking are. And it turns out that when she did the presentation, she packed these little, I don't know what they are, like a little toiletry bag with like mini deodorant, toothbrush and things like that. And she hand knitted some scarves to take to the interview. And basically in the presentation, she said at around Christmas time, she goes around London and she gives hand knitted scarves to the homeless and the little toiletry bags to basically have the supplies that they probably won't have, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the presentation, as she's closing, she was like, look, just so that you remember me and remember this, I'm going to give you all a scarf that I made myself. And if you've already got your scarf and you don't want it, next time you see a homeless person, give it to a homeless person. And they gave her a standing round of applause.
Oh, wow.
The client called me immediately after. They still had interviews and said that was the best presentation I've ever seen. I've still got interviews to do, but I just want to let you know I'm probably going to offer her.
Yeah.
And they offered her and she was there for a few years and she smashed it.
Oh, brilliant.
And that for me was just like,
I'm a unicorn.
What a fucking story, right? The second anecdote that will make you laugh, talking about presentations about things that you're passionate about. The last training academy. One of the passions was boxing. And I'm a massive combat sports person, right? So I'm like, this is going to be sick. The guy was such a blue personality. He just basically read statistics about a particular boxer for 10 minutes.
Oh, no.
I started looking at the director going, is this kid for fucking real?
No way.
I went aside, I was like, honestly, he's a fucking no. That was the most boring presentation of my entire life. It was absolutely shocking.
That's so bad.
They ended up hiring him because they were like, there's something about him. And they put him on a cold desk. He was the best trainee I've ever worked with in my whole life.
Really?
Yeah, very detail orientated.
It's weird, isn't it?
And his biggest thing was like, you need to be more concise. And his last role play, he did a terms negotiation role play with me. And that's like the final like BD module. And I say to people, role play number 1 with me, I'm like a 1 out of 10 in terms of difficulty. The terms role play, I'm a see you next Tuesday. And I'm going to really put you under it. And I got his commercial director to sit in the room and I was horrible to him. And his commercial director stood up and went, that was the best role play I've ever seen in my life.
Wow,
Unbelievable.
fair play to him.
And now he's pulling jobs left, right and centre. He's probably going to do his first 360 deal in sub 3 months now. But it goes to show you, doesn't it? Because if that person is just, way too waffly and a bit too boring, whatever, if they've got the right attitude, to your point earlier, you can guide them. And also same with someone that's kind of freaking out, but they're really passionate about something and they can talk about it really well. It's just about unlocking those things inside to people and noticing them and going, all right, that's your lane, fucking flourish.
Yeah, it's mad how certain people you think are going to go one way go the complete opposite and do it.
Yeah.
That's why I like seeing young people do recruitment, because I think they can surprise themselves a lot of times. And the amount of calls and conversations I've had over the last 10 years with people in their first 6 months, 12 months of recruitment that are genuinely like grateful for doing it because they've earned a certain amount of money or they've met certain people or whatever the reason is, normally the earnings, but whatever the reason is, people that stick with it tend to absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, look, I'm mindful of time. I know that you wanted to speak a little bit about the mental health piece. Have you got time or do you need to shoot?
No, I'm sweet. I'm good. I can stay all day, mate, yeah.
The dog.
The mental health thing, I mean, I didn't want to make a big deal of it because I'm not one to bang on about stuff like it, but like we was talking about the other day, it's just, I think with recruitment, it comes back to a lot of what we were saying about the sacrifice and stuff and how much time can go into it. You've also got to be very mindful not to burn out, right? Like, it's got to be a healthy amount of work, like one you can manage consistently. And again, consistency is something that I talk about a fair bit, more often than not lately. On my LinkedIn, I'm starting to bore myself a little bit the amount of times I say the word. But I think it's it's super key. So for me, over the last couple of years, I think everyone's experience of the recruitment market has been really super, super tough. And again, it comes down to working, I feel like, from home and working as a sort of one-man band solo as well. You have to be very mindful of what you're putting yourself through on a stress perspective. I've got friends that are currently dealing with very high levels of stress. I've dealt with a hell of a lot of stress last year. Last year, sort of my final year with Volta Search, it was super tough. Like, the market was tough. Clients weren't hiring, candidates weren't moving. It was very, very difficult. And I ended up taking myself away from it and putting myself through therapy for a few months. So I had to go pay for it privately. It's not cheap, Jesus Christ. But I had to do that for a number of months, get my head straight. I ended up going out to Dubai, which was therapy in itself. That helped me out. I was meant to be there for 4 days and stayed for a month, which was great. But that was I really needed a reset. Like, I needed to come away from. I don't think I worked for about 6 months of last year, in all honesty, because it got to a point where mentally I was just like, I can't do this every single day anymore. And a lot of that comes down to doing it myself. Like, I'm probably going to mention the Rec Room in a bit.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll mention that at the end. Don't worry.
But that's where the idea from that came from.
Yeah.
Was doing it myself at home or in co-working spaces, wherever it might be, having no one to lean on, having no one to celebrate the minimal number of wins I had last year, which is another story in itself. But no one to deal with the kind of the tough times, no one to bounce off, no one to motivate me and get on the phone. That all compounded over the course of the space of about 6-7 months. And ended up in a position where I was like, I can't do this. Like, I need some time away. I need to just reset and chill. So I did, came away, went through therapy, did all that, was on medication, came off it, and now I'm sweet. Like, now I'm back on it, and I actually feel great now. But it's so key for everyone, I think. Just look after yourselves mentally. Like, if you're having a bad time, talk to someone. Like, find someone on the same kind of level as you, or even if they're not, speak to a manager or whatever. Yeah. But ideally find someone who's going through similar stuff to you. Yeah. A lot of people, since I set up this Rec to Rec community, a lot of people have mentioned in the group and on LinkedIn, they've messaged me saying, I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me having a bad time. Yeah. I thought it was only me that was getting offers rejected and couldn't find new clients. And I thought that was all only happening to me. But being part of all this now, I can see it's happening to everyone. Like, the market is good now. I feel like it's getting busier. But up until maybe summer this year, it was still very, very difficult to get things moving. And if you're sat there on your own working from home thinking, why is this happening to me? And you're seeing out on LinkedIn all this, we've had a record month, we've had a record year, look at my new house I've just bought. Like, here's a picture of my car randomly in a photo, but it's a Porsche. It's just like, why has everyone else got these cool things and I can't do a deal this month? So I feel like just talk to people, like just have that conversation, or you're going to end up in a position where you're going to either throw away your career because you feel like you can't do it anymore, or worse, and nobody wants that. Yeah,
100%. I used to be massive on LinkedIn about talking about mental health. I did Movember in 2020, 2021. I've raised money for mental health charities and stuff, and I've done my mental health first aider course and everything like that. And I don't know when it was, but I had like this shift in mindset where I noticed a lot, especially younger recruiters, cling on to the fact that I'm just an anxious person, or I'm burnt out and all the rest of it. And I noticed myself fall into the trap of like, I'm just burnt out. Oh yeah, no, I just can't do this. And my mental health is really, really bad. And I think there's two sides of it. You've got to be self-aware to realise when you are about to burn out, or when you are really bad with like your anxiety, you're feeling a bit depressed. You need to have that sort of self-awareness for sure. But I also feel like, this is going to sound really bad out loud, but some people have unfortunately boycotted the mental health term, right? And this is going to sound awful out loud, but it's also kind of like pussified a lot of, especially men as well, where I don't want to sit there and say, mate, fucking pull up your big boy pants, man up, because some people have coined that term as quite toxic. But I've noticed myself some mornings, like you spoke about, like I could just email them and I'll just text them and stuff like that, and then I've had to sit there and say to myself, you're being a fucking pussy, mate. Like, I know now when I'm actually really struggling with anxiety, or if I'm feeling like I'm burnt out and I just don't have motivation to do anything that I normally would. But yeah, I just, mate, do you know what it is? I just see people on LinkedIn that talk about the mental health awareness part. And I think the thing that really pisses me off, and it has for years, is when people bang on about mental health awareness, but never share a single thing that has helped them or anyone else, because they don't want to sit there and say, I done therapy and it helped me, and it could help you, because then other people can misconstrue that as like, because it helped you, you think you're going to, I done therapy, it didn't help me. I am always the type of person that I will always say, this is what's helped me. It might not help you, but this is what's helped me. Just so that people can look, and because I've been in that fucking pit of despair where it's like, I don't want to wake up in the morning, and I didn't have anyone to fucking speak to. I just had my mum, and like, I just wanted someone to sit there and be like, go to the gym, or you need to eat more, or, you know, you need to do this, or you need to do that. Just try as many fucking things, because if you're in a really bad spot, like think about the recruiters that you work with in the rec room. If they're not doing deals and they're not speaking to anyone, and then they speak to you, me, or someone else in the group that says, have you tried this? Oh, I haven't actually tried that. Let me give that a try, and it helps.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Rather than, oh, it's okay to feel bad. Because that's, and again, I'm rambling here, but it's okay to feel shit sometimes. We're human beings. If you're constantly, like, every single day, you're going like, oh, do you know what, I'm having a day. I'm just not going to do anything today. And that's fucking really consistent.
Yeah, it snowballs quick. Like, that's what I found out last year is I was having a really bad time, like a week or two, and I was like, you know, Marshall, chill out. I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do it. Let me take a couple of days.
Yeah.
Just get myself sorted. And then the following week is like, let me just take a few more days. Let me take a week, 2 weeks, a month. Before I knew it, I hadn't done a deal for like 3 months, 4 months. And I was like, shit. Like now I'm really in a pickle because what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this? Like I've got bills that I need to catch up on. I've got like tax coming out at the end of this month or whatever it was. Like where's that money going to come from? It's just, it was one thing after another that got to a point where I was like, you know what, check me out for a little bit. Let me go get my head sorted and come back. And then it was all about getting back into a good routine. Like, I feel like routine for a recruiter is so, so important.
Huge.
For the first few years I did rec to rec, I was the most unorganised person I've ever known. Like, I did things as and when. I was very much sort of off the cuff and let's make this call and let's do a bit of BD and then do a bit of candidate stuff. Nothing was organised, but it somehow worked. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was in an office all the time. Like, I was in an office 8 till 6, 7, whatever it was consistent with that, so maybe it just worked. But now doing my own thing, I have my set routine every day. Stuff like this throws it out a little bit, but that's fine, it's Friday. But my set routine is very straightforward and it works for me. It might not work for someone else. I don't work all the hours in the day because I'll work bits sort of throughout the day when I need to. So I'll drop my boy off at school in the morning, I'll work 9 till 11:30, go to the gym for an hour, come back, work a few more hours, take an hour or so to chill with him when he gets home from school, have dinner, but then I'll pick up my laptop in the evening and I'll do some more stuff when I have to because I've got that kind of freedom to do that. But I think it's very important to, if you're a recruiter, to find your routine, find something that works. Like if you want to go gym in the morning before work, do that. If you're more of an evening person, do that. But work your working hours around that type of routine. And it doesn't work quickly, but if you stick to it for a good month or two, it becomes automatic and you start to feel good because you know what you're doing at certain times. And it all starts to pay off, I feel like, over time.
Is there anything in your routine that helps you keep accountable or stick to it? Because I had a couple of coaching sessions with a business coach. We had a good deal. I did some sessions for one of his recruitment firms and he gave me some business coaching. And just as I was finishing the academy that I'd done recently, I said, what I'm nervous about is that I have this routine. I'm on site 3 days a week. I'm doing bits on the days off. But normally when I finish the academy, I've got a week where my brain has gone, because you just give so much in those things. You're training, you're on your feet all day, like fucking like trying to energize a massive room, and it's a lot. And he was like, you need to come up with a repeatable day and week plan. And a couple of the things he said is that split your tasks between sales, like outbound activity, admin, marketing activity, and then like miscellaneous stuff, right?
That's exactly what I do.
And then within those kind of key sprints, like the 90-minute sprints, the 9 till 11:30 or whatever, set yourself a non-negotiable. And like, if you achieve that, even if you achieve it in an hour and you've got some more in the tank to do more, but even if you've achieved that, give yourself a reward. And then if you haven't, like, what's like, not the punishment, but like, what do you do if you haven't done that? Because as you said earlier, if you have a couple of days and all of a sudden that becomes a habit, then that's kind of bad. But what do you do in terms of like to help you with those day plans?
Exactly that. I have it in my diary every day. So I have 9 till 11:30 is Volta work, but anything generating revenue. So any client work, any new candidates, any interviews, stuff like that, anything that's going to lead to revenue coming in, that's what I do in the morning because that's when I'm the most kind of with it and awake and on the ball. Then I'll go hour to hour and a half in the gym. I've even got the gym blocked out in my diary every day, so no one puts calls or anything in at that time.
Nice.
After the gym, I'll have a bit of admin work, like following on from the morning. What emails have I got to send out? What do I, if I need to do, I don't know, put new terms of business together or update my CRMs and stuff, do that then. I'll do that for about an hour. Hour after that, I'll do an hour on the rec room stuff. So whether that's contacting like partnerships, updating on the group stuff, whatever it might be, spend an hour on the rec room, come away from recruitment for a bit, have a bit of a reset. And then after that, it's just wrapping up the day. Like, what do I need to sort of finish up for today? What do I need to do tomorrow? Put a little plan together. And then I have kind of a hard stop at pretty much 5, 6, well, sometimes 5, sometimes 6. But I will close my laptop at 5, spend an hour away from work, like I said, spend time with my boy, have dinner, chill out. And in the evening, if I have more to do, maybe my brain won't switch off, that's when I'll just pull my laptop out and just do little bits and bobs. But day to day, I break it down every day. And I've worked like that now for 2 months, every single day. And it's been probably the most productive 2 months I've had in a long time.
Oh, wow. And do you plan your day like the night before as well?
Yeah. So every evening I'll send myself an email, just a list of things to do. Because that way I know I won't miss it. So if I put it onto my spreadsheet or anything, there's a chance I won't check that first thing in the morning. Whereas my emails, the first thing I look at when I open my laptop. So I'll send myself emails throughout the evening, do this.
Yeah.
And then they're the first things I either add them to my spreadsheet to-do list or I'll tick them off straight away.
Yeah, decent. So when you're doing like the sales outbound stuff from like 9 till 11:30, I did a session with this academy that talks about like day plans, week plans, setting goals and things. And I said, when I finish this academy and I'm not on site anymore, and you show your director your day plan and it says BD sprint, I'm going to fucking lose it. I'm going to get really pissed off, right? So how do we make it more specific? And we went through all the different things and like the daily controllables and all the rest of it. And unfortunately, one of the consultants showed the day plan to the director and said, I'm going to do a candidate sprint from this time to that sprint, and I'm going to do a lead gen sprint and then a BD sprint. And what's the first question the director asked? Cool, so what candidates are you calling?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go away, I'm going to build a search. Okay, so what leads are you going to try and generate? Ask them just some ones for this market. It's like, okay, what companies are you going to try and get? Like, what candidates, how are you going to get those leads? Well, I'm just going to call candidates. Okay, so it sounds like to me that you're going to go away and you're going to spend most of that sprint researching,
planning,
right, and planning. So the whole point of doing a day plan is that your plan's kind of made out.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it, where I'll do like a calling sprint, and then I'll wake up in the morning and open up my laptop and I'll look through my spreadsheet and it's like 100 fucking people there, and I'm like, oh my god, there's a lot. Where do I start?
Yeah.
And then when I've had days that are really good, it's in that diary invite I've sent myself, top 5 people to speak to.
Yeah.
And then the 10 people after that to speak to. So that when I look through that spreadsheet and there's a fucking like sea of people, I'm like, oh, okay, those are the 5 people that I need to speak to. Here are 10 people that I can speak to after. But is there anything else that you do to hone in on those like sprints?
Not really, to be honest. Like my BD is slightly different to a lot of, well, I think rec to rec BD is very different because we're very candidate led.
Yeah.
So I am quite fortunate in a way that I'm been doing rec to rec for long enough now. I get a lot of referrals and stuff sent to me, which a lot of people come to me, which is brilliant. So candidate side is pretty well looked after. There are times where stuff is a bit more specific and I have to be doing project work and searches and stuff. That's a different story. But when it comes to BD on the client side, I will work the candidate. So I've got a guy on at the moment who's done a lot of functional programming, back-end developer stuff for about 3-4 years. So I spent most of yesterday going over companies I already know of, companies I've worked with in the past and had those relationships with, getting in touch with them was quite warm. But then also looking into who am I hearing the most about at the moment? Who's coming up in conversation a lot? What new companies are there that seem to have popped up out of nowhere over the last couple of years and are growing? You do hear, as a rec to rec, you hear of the same businesses over and over again. So it's kind of a bit of racking my brain a little bit, but also speaking to people, calling people I know. Who have you heard of recently that's a good business in this field? It's getting on LinkedIn, seeing sort of what's trending, if you like, who keeps popping up, and then getting in touch with them clients directly with something for them.
Yeah.
Like, I've got this guy, 4 years experience, functional programming, all perm, 360, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to have a chat?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, I'll get a positive reply. But either send me an email or let's have a call next week whatever it might be. So BD in rec to rec, I feel like is quite easy. If you've got good people. Like, if you've got no one, it's a nightmare because there's so many rec to recs now.
Yeah.
Like, there's I've found out from this group, there's so many out there now. which it just blows my mind, like the amount of one-man bands there are. So if you haven't got anything for them, it's very, very hard because there's a lot of people out there that have. But if you have, I feel like it's easy. So it's a bit different.
Yeah, fair.
It is different.
Kind of unrelated, but not so. But on the mental health topic, when you said about like going to the gym every day, I notice when I haven't been to the gym for 5 days, or if I do sparring every Saturday, I'm horrible. I'm just horrible to myself, horrible to everyone around me, and I have this, I don't know if you ever have this, but like if I haven't been to the gym for like when we had the baby and you've got a kid as well, you know that the first 3 months is like you're in the trenches.
Yeah.
Trying to go to the gym. You just you ain't doing it. You're in survival mode, right? So I took a little bit of time off gym and I tried to do some home workouts. I was like, this is just not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, as I started that academy a few months back, I went to the gym and I've got this app called Fit Notes, which is the best fucking app in the world. And I looked at my old back workout and I was like, no, sound, I'll just do that. 5 sets of 5 chin-ups, like do some bicep curls, do some like deadlifts and all the rest of it. Could not move my arms for 7 days. I was in absolute pain. I was coming home, my missus is sat there, we're watching TV. She's like, are you all right? I'm like, my arm won't stop shaking. I was like, I couldn't move. My hands were like this. I just couldn't do anything. So now I've got this thing where like I went to the gym yesterday to do like a back session for the first time in like a month. And in my mind, I'm like, I can do more, right? And then it got to the end of the workout, and I'm like, I've still got a lot more in me. And I'm like, stop. You're going to fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Just ease your way back into it. And it's like an ego, like, basher, because I'm like sat there doing barbell rows. I'm like, I could do way more than this. But I'm like, if I do that weight today and then maybe up it by a couple of kilos next week, and then I can get back to that weight, but I need to tell myself, like, you're not where you were there because you've had some time off. But the reason why I mentioned that to you is that I have been implementing 3 weight sessions a week and a Muay Thai session once a week, and then daily dog walks for like minimum half an hour, just purely out of my own curiosity. What do you do like every week in the gym and stuff? What does that look like?
So I'm obviously not a bodybuilder, right? Like I'm not the fittest guy in the world, probably not in the room, right? It's just I've been through my periods of like real obsession with the gym. Like I used to do before COVID. I really got into CrossFit, which was mental because I can't run a 5K now to save my life. But I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, you should do this in the gym, you should do that. Like I've got friends who are crazy fit. Like one of my very good friends, he wins fitness competitions for fun. Like he's mental. Like he'll run a 10K in about 40 minutes. His pace is a joke. But I'm so far away from that, it's a joke. But I go to the gym, I'd say at least 6 days a week.
Really?
I have to, because if I don't,
and what
I
do you
get
do
like
when you're at the gym? What type of
just a mix of things, like mostly just the weight training and a bit of cardio. But like I went yesterday and just purely did a cardio circuit for about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. But because for me, it's like, it's coming away, it's a bit of an escape almost to the point where like all I have to think about at that point is in the gym. Like, as in, this is hard and I hate it, but I'm going to stay here and do it. So I have to go every day because at least 6 days a week, because I feel like if I don't, I'm like, oh, I'm being lazy now. Like I should be doing more. That's when my mind starts to race a little bit, and I'm like, oh, I just need to get outside. Like, even if it's just going for a long walk, like I have to do something every day for my own kind of mental well-being, if you like, and not to go crazy. But when I'm there, I'm obviously I'm not doing anything crazy. It's just I just enjoy being in the gym and moving around. Like I'm 35 now, mate. I need to move around a bit.
Yeah, mate, and especially with kids as well.
Joint seize up.
Yeah, strength training. What I've realised is just one of the best things to do.
Yeah.
Like, both my parents unfortunately now are disabled, and my dad stopped playing football when he was 40. He'd never stepped foot in a gym or anything like that, and he's fucked now. My mum's got osteoporosis, and I told her ages ago, like, have creatine and lift some weights and stuff, and she's of that generation that they would never do any of that type of stuff. And now I've got a baby and stuff, like, obviously she doesn't weigh anything, but just knowing how to lift up correctly and being able to like put her over my head like that with one hand and stuff, and it's fine, or help move the table and shit like that, like these little things, it helps so much. And just as you said, mate, like just for mental clarity,
it's the mental side,
even if you're not going and you're trying to fucking get PBs and stuff like that, like what I did yesterday, just doing the fucking sets, the reps, and getting to the last set and shaking a little bit, and then going, I've actually fucking achieved something. Those little wins compound, man. It's massive.
I remember. So I put together this circuit that I do once a week, which is the hour and a half, 2 hour circuit, and it's horrible, mate. Like it is. I think the last time I did it, yesterday, I did 1,300-1,400 calories, but it's not high. It's list, so it's low intensity.
Yeah.
Steady.
What does the circuit
steady
look like?
state? It's a lot of walking, stepping, like lightweight deadlifts, box steps, stuff like that. But it's constant moving for 2 hours, but just not like pushing it too much, so you're not dying. But the first time I did it was about 3-4 weeks ago, and I came out of the gym. I called one of my mates about something I didn't call him to talk about the gym. I called him to talk about something unrelated, but I had so much energy. He was like, "Are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah, mate. I've just had a really good workout." He's like, "You sound like you're gonna explode." He's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, and I realised I'm so full of like dopamine and adrenaline right now. Like I don't know what was going on, but it was mental. Like, and that's what I like from exercising is feeling good afterwards.
Yeah.
It's always I have to do it every day.
Yeah, love that. My whole goal is at the front. My front garden, as you probably see, looks like absolute shit at the minute. But my goal is to build like an outdoor like shed to have my work from home set up and all my exercise equipment. Yeah. So it's an escape because my room upstairs, the amount of discipline it takes to not play Battlefield 6 because my work from home setup is right next to my PlayStation setup. Yeah. So just have that room as a storage and gaming room, and then there as a work and an exercise space. Because my wife does her workouts in here when the baby's in the little bouncer. And I just really struggle to do any sort of workouts in my front room. Like I used to do it back in the day, like the little HIIT, like Joe Wicks type of stuff during lockdown. But
do you remember that? Everyone went mad for that.
I got really wound up after a while. It was actually really good for recovery because in Thai boxing you're always injured. And I had repetitive strain disorder in both wrists, both thumbs, and I had sprained toes on both feet from kicking elbows and stuff. Jesus. So I couldn't walk. I couldn't throw any punches. So for all out of lockdown, we were doing like the online Thai boxing classes. It all is shadow boxing. And then I come back to the first class and my coach was like, "Go on, give us a hook, Charlie." Bang, like that. I went, "Fucking hell, where's that come from?" And I was like, all I've been doing is fucking throwing kettlebells around. So my wrists have actually healed. I was like, oh my God, what? Taking rest actually works.
Nice.
It's mad. All right, mate, cool.
Nice.
So let's wrap up. Final question, and I want to talk a little bit about like Rec Room and kind of how people can get in touch with you. But as you know, the final question for every episode is following this particular episode, how can people get 1% better in recruitment?
I think it's consistency and routine, right? It's purely that. Like unfortunately, there's no like a magic button you can press and get better at recruitment. It's doing all the shit boring things over and over again until they become almost second nature, I think. So, and this is more aimed at young people. Obviously, I don't want to tell experienced recruiters how to do recruitment. Like you should all know what you're doing by now. But if you're getting into it and you're new to it, do the shit over and over again in consistently and in a good way, and learn off people. Be in the office. Like that's the best advice I give to young people is be around other people and do all the basics consistently.
Love it. Awesome answer, mate. Amazing. Cool. So before we wrap up, just tell us a little bit about Rec Room and then what types of people should actually reach out to you and stuff.
Perfect. So yeah, Rec Room, I set that up at the beginning of October. It's a community solely for rec-to-rec solo business owners. Realised since COVID, there's a hell of a lot of them out there now. Last few years have been super tough for everyone, like I've said. So it was a space that I had this idea for about 6 months or so to create a space where one-man bands, all rec-to-recs can come together, support each other, learn off each other, sort of celebrate wins, deal with situations, and just come together as almost like a team, but not a business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's gone really well. So I started on the 2nd of October. Plan was to get to 50 people by Christmas. We were just over 50 by the end of October. Currently just over 60. You've got a few more to add, probably today. But the plan is now to get to 100 by the end of the year. We had our first workshop session on Tuesday this week, which was with an IFA, good friend of mine, James Maluish. He came on, was talking about financial well-being, financial education for people. So we're doing regular workshops with various service providers. We spoke about it on the training side of things. And anyone is interested in getting involved, just find me on LinkedIn. Just drop me a message on LinkedIn.
Love it, mate. Awesome. Well, thanks very much for coming round for doing the episode. It's been a lot of fun. Marshall. And Marshall's, he just steals the show, doesn't he? He's got main character energy. Cool. People who've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for watching this episode or listening to this episode, guys. Let me know, what was your biggest takeaway from this week's guest? What did you think about their answer to the 1% better in recruitment? I'm really keen to hear your thoughts. If you haven't already, please drop us a like if you're on YouTube, follow on Apple and Spotify, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm really, really keen to get some feedback from you all on what you think about the format of these episodes.
Are there any other guests that you think we should have on the show? Are you someone that wants to be a guest on the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast? Because if so, you can just simply DM me on LinkedIn, you can drop me an email, all my details are below on these videos. And I'm always interested in having absolute legends come on the show that want to have real open conversation, that want to talk about things that could even be potentially controversial. We could debate certain things, but the whole point, as I mentioned at the start of the video, guys, is that my whole purpose with this show is to help the recruitment industry get 1% better after every episode. So make sure you're following, subscribing on all the different platforms, and I'll see you next week.